Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mountaineer Locker Room. Then and now, Greg Christ, Frank Fear, along with you, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Frank, another week down, another week closer, and we got plenty to talk about. And we're going to take a little bit of a different turn tonight. I think it'll be fun. Still related to the athletic programs at WVU, but a little different twist on things. So looking forward to that. Welcome in.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's great to have Randy Meador with us tonight. And, we were talking before the show that he may be on shows like this more than the coaches are, which I think is a tremendous testimony to the support and love that we have at WVU for the guys that and the gals who support the programs, make it possible, and just do a great job, particularly in terms of caring for athletes that have been injured to make sure that they stay in shape. It's just an honor to have Randy with us tonight.
Yep, and as fans, we pay attention to everything WVU when we see something pop up on social media or on TV. And like you said, Randy's been a steady force on the screen here lately in social media and on TV. We've seen him numerous times now with all the well wishes being bestowed upon him. It's fun to watch, and well deserved honors for him. Such a long career, and obviously a successful career at WVU. So yeah, it's really neat, and it's going to be fun to talk to him to hear. I'm sure he has some great stories and some great memories of his time with the Mountaineers. So a couple other things going on that we hashed about earlier. We talked about the West Virginia, I should say, TBT team. They are moving on to the quarterfinals, if I understand correctly. Kind of an improbable win the other night. If you watched it, I don't know. I know Darren watched. I don't know if you got to see it or not, but trailing and late in the game, and were able to mount a furious comeback. And the way that thing works is they once they reach a certain point level, then there is a ceiling that you hit. Whoever reaches a certain total points, uh, you know, after a certain time, it's kind of hard to explain, but once you hit 72, for example, then you win. And West Virginia was able to, or West Virginia, I keep saying West Virginia was able to come back and take the lead, and then hit the ceiling there and won the game. So now they moved to the quarterfinals. So pretty neat thing to watch. If if you're a fan of WVU's, you recognize many of the names. I've watched them, and a couple of them I don't remember, but you recognize most of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they actually two come from behind wins in three games, and so they move on Monday. It's going to be on national TV, Fox Sports One against the Maryland alumni at
Yep.
6 o'clock. So you can watch it or tape it, watch later. But I like this format of
Yeah.
so many points. I mean, if you and I were still playing, we could play, first to 4 points wins for $1 million.
Yep.
That we could do that, Greg. I mean,
Maybe the first,
it's
maybe with
possible.
us, it might be the first basket or the first one to hit the rim would win.
Yeah,
It's
but
funny.
you and I talk about this all the time. This show, with Darren's help, is and Mark Parsons is a testimony to it. It's the second bow. It gives, what we do is we talk about WVU now and then, and what this the basketball tournament does is give guys who were stars in college an opportunity to come back,
Yep.
do another chapter in their book. In this case, the winner takes all, $1 million, and
Yeah, a
so
million
you got
bucks.
the
Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful. So
Yeah.
it's something to support.
And just not that this matters, but a friend of mine and a good friend of my son's, they went to college together and play. He played at Fairmont. Played on West Virginia's team last year, but or year before last rather. And this past year he played with an Ohio team because it's where he's from. He actually played at Fairmont, but he played with the Ohio team, and they actually won the thing. So he got a cut of the $1 million prize. But he I don't know how much how much they got, but he plays professionally overseas and has for about 10 years now. And his name's Jamel Morris, and a heck of a basketball player. And but he was on the winning team last year, so a little connection there. But yeah, that's a neat thing. I mean, it's I'm sure fun for those guys, but at the same time, that $1 million prize at the end, even if you have to split it, it's going to be pretty significant and makes it competitive. They play hard and really get after it, and it's fun to watch. It's a neat format the way they do it, and it is entertaining. Like I say, you see some old heads that you hadn't seen or thought about for a long time, and there they are playing, and a lot of them are still really, really good basketball players. I mean, they're not. It's not like the church league out there playing. It's good basketball. So fun to watch. People ought to tune in and root on Best Virginia.
Well, and you and I were talking last week offline that it fills a gap because unless you're a baseball fan and a big baseball fan, you got a time here before football season kicks off, NFL and college, and so the timing is perfect to give folks a chance to cheer. And of course, the folks that went to the game in Charleston, as Darren did, and Lucas Berry, who's with the New River Network, did, very excited about being there. The crowds look good, particularly for the weekend game, and so generate some cash for the local coffers, and so it's a win all around. So let's wish them luck. Exciting time for West Virginia again, and let's see what happens on Monday against the Terrapin alone.
Yep, and like you said, fills that gap a little bit because not a whole lot going on sports wise now, unless you're a big baseball fan or WNBA fan. Just not a lot happening right now. So yeah, it does fill the gap. Another thing you mentioned, I wanted to bring this up. You mentioned it right before we came on the show. We were talking about Memphis trying to buy their way into the Big 12, getting rejected, and then going to jump into the ACC. And like you said, before we come on, just when you think it's the popcorn has stopped popping, there's always one more. And this league jumping and switching back and forth the leagues and going cross country to join a conference, it's just crazy, and it seems like it never ends. There's always somebody going somewhere, and I think, as we've talked about numerous times on the show, I think it brings back into focus the importance, I believe, of getting this thing regionalized, get it organized in such a fashion that it satisfies not only the fans but the TV networks and the financial ends of it. And I listened to the Big Ten, some of the news conference on the Big Ten. They're still holding fast to the idea that they proposed with the playoff system, and I don't think that's going to fly. But again, it just shows the differences in what people think are best, for, well, not what they think is best for everybody, what they think is best for them. And I just hope that somehow, some way, somebody can step in and get this thing put together to where it satisfies all those entities, the financial part of it, the networks, the fans, the schools. And this, it's just another example of, with this Memphis thing, of just how rapidly things can happen and turn everything upside down again. I mean, you don't know, you think things have settled for a while, but it could happen tomorrow. Who knows? And these conferences, poaching teams, and people moving all over the place. You don't know what's going to happen next.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. It's on the other hand, if you think about it from Memphis's point of view, they beat on consecutive years in bowl games, Big 12 teams, Iowa State and WVU. They don't want to be in the group of five anymore. They believe both in basketball and football. They have strength. And so they did what you would expect them to do. The amount of money took my breath away, $200 million.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about that, two things, Greg, we've talked about both of these. The first thing you and I have, the first thing is that the Big 12 didn't spend much time evaluating that. They said no fairly quickly to Memphis. And number two is that what we talked about last week. We thought that with the rumblings that President Trump would intervene with an executive order on college sports, but we didn't have much reporting on it other than there was a possibility. Now we know that if he does submit an executive order, it's unlikely to be about overseeing college sports writ large, and more about requesting that the federal government, appropriate entities, make a determination about the status of athletes. Are they employees or are they student athletes? And the decision has tremendous implications. There it is right there, the graphic. Thanks, Darren. Tremendous implications for college sports, because if the federal government says they're employees, then they have the right to collective bargain and they can join unions. If they're and also the key is that the NCAA or any entity could put together salary cap, which some of the pros have. But if they're declared to be, as they are now, student athletes, that changes everything. And the NCAA supports no change. They support no change. And so what we learned now is even if President Trump submits his executive order, after try in Congress, there looks to be a bill that could come to the floor that would be, I think, pretty close to what you're calling for, that would come out of regulations. So we're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see what happens. But right now, you've got to have the alerts on your phone, because things could change in a matter of a nanosecond.
Yeah, and the idea of the government getting involved is a scary proposition. But I think that somehow, some way they've got to get together, a commission or an organization, and I don't think you want it to be like the NCAA, who obviously over the years kind of lost control and really had no standing. I'm not. I don't know how. And I understand from the university standpoint not wanting to do this, but how they can't consider these I say kids, not kids, but young folks, not employees. If they're, we're in a pay to play system right now. I don't care what anybody says. These players are getting money from these schools to come and play, and I know, for years, and I don't think a lot is. I think it's just more open now than what it used to be. I don't know that they've ever really been, in the last 20 years, really a student athlete. They've been athletes that are enrolled as students, and they get paid some way or another. And I think now it's just more open than what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and the idea that they're not employees just seems a little odd to me. And I think they should have collective bargaining power. And I think if they would challenge that, I think they could probably win that eventually. But yeah, I think that the universities obviously don't want that. The NCAA or any of the college presidents, they don't want that necessarily, because that gives them the players that bargaining power, and it's going to cost them a little bit of money. But in the end, are they going to lose more money than what they would through lawsuits and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
And to show some cooperation and work together could be good for everybody. It'd be good for the players and the schools if they handle it right. But Frank, I'll be honest, I just don't have a lot of faith in any of them handling it right. I think everybody involved is too greedy, and I think it's partly what's wrong with our whole economic system. Our system works well as long as everybody plays by the rules and does their fair share. But our system is pretty messed up right now because people are greedy and corrupt. And when it comes to big money, you worry about the government or any organization being able to, to do it fairly and fair, not just for the schools, but fair for the players, fair for the universities, fair for the fans, fair for everybody. I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't have a lot of faith.
Yeah, I agree. Greg, I just got a note from Randy. He's having some Wi-Fi problems from his house, and so we need to keep on talking a bit. In fact,
Okay.
what we may do is bring in Mark Parsons,
Yep.
who's back,
Absolutely.
worked with Randy, and
Yep.
Randy's going to. Mark is going to be part of the interview, good part of the interview when Randy gets in, but
Yep.
he's going to try to get back in, and then we can bring Randy in with us, and then what we could do, maybe to follow up, Darren, is to put up that graphic on Texas Tech, and Greg, you want to join us on this too,
Okay.
so it'll be three of us. There we go. We were talking about this last. You talked about money, Greg. We talked about this last week that the rumblings were that Texas Tech was angling to fill the void of Oklahoma, Nebraska. Excuse me, Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12 to go to the SEC. Who's trying to be the kingpin? Because every conference has kingpins. You can go right down the list. And look, this is money spent on college football across the country. And, Texas, no surprise, Ohio State, Oregon, there's no team on that list that's surprising. Right,
Okay.
Mark? But look at number two.
I know Texas Tech. They've taken advantage of all that oil money out there, and they're getting some talent in there, and but they're paying for it. That's for sure.
Yep, they are. So, yeah. So I think sometimes you hear these rumors and they end up to have some legs to them. And this is one that the rumor was out there, and now we see. Well, we already know that they've spent $2 million securing that softball pitcher from Stanford, who brought them all the way up to the championship game in women's softball, and then to keep her, they threw another million at her for $2 million. So anyway, Randy is here. So why don't I do this? I'm going to drop off, and let's bring Greg back in. There he is, and let's bring in Mark and Randy, and we'll let her rip. I'll turn it back to you, Greg.
All right. Well, it's an honor and a privilege to have Randy Meador with us tonight. For those of you who don't know, longtime athletic trainer at WVU, mainly with the basketball, but worked in various different aspects of the programs there, and had an awesome 40 some odd year career. Recently retired, and we are excited and tickled to death to have him with us tonight. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I guess I won't advertise my internet company, so sorry about that. But we're back.
I have a good one, but I'm going to mention Meador because I pay plenty for it, so I'm not going to mention their name either. They do what they're supposed to do, but it sure does cost me. And Mark, you want to jump in as well? We have Mark Parsons, who I think has a pretty good relationship with Randy, work together, and Mark's going to come in and share some stories and ask some questions as well. So, Darren, if you want to, there's Mark. Hey, Mark, and I know you're tickled to see Randy as well. So I'm going to let you, Mark. You guys are friends. You know each other. I'm going to let you just start this thing off and get us going.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Randy was a big part of my athletic training career. I was an athletic trainer for about 30 years, and I don't know if you can remember all this, but you taught me basically the therapeutic modalities, all our orthopedic assessments, taping techniques. You, on the skills part of that, you checked me off on every one of those. And I don't know if you remember that, but I'll never forget it. It was kind of nerve wracking, but I really appreciate everything that he did to get me prepared to enter the career of athletic training. And I don't have a whole lot of stories on it. I don't have anything bad.
Well, good.
One thing that stands out, though, do you remember you had the entire training staff over to your house in Westover So you did the pay-per-view for Thomas Hitman Hearns versus Marvin Hagler. You bought the pay-per-view, and then we brought the snacks and the beer and everything. And I'll never forget that. That was a good time that night. And
Yes.
I thought that was fun. Yeah.
It was funny. The Westover cable was different than Morgantown cable. So, yeah, I could host that for you. For everybody.
Well, I was going to, can you tell us about when you were my graduate assistant when you first got there, and then became the head basketball trainer? Can you talk a little bit about your interview with Coach Catlett on that, and Lester Rowe, and how all that kind of intertwined and came together?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because I remember that, and I remember taking care of a lot of your stuff, Mark, and everything. There's certain people that stand out. I hate to say there's certain people you forget, but, there's been so many. But, yeah, I've always remembered you, Mark, and all the things we did in the past. But so my first year, I was a graduate assistant over at football. And, back in those days, the Coliseum didn't have a weight room. Basketball would come over to lift. And, we'd get football ready, and then maybe they'd go to a meeting or something. Then basketball would be in a weight room working with Al Johnson. And if they needed something, I'd take care of them. I mean, we're athletic trainers, help people out, take care of injuries, whatever they need. And plus, they didn't have an athletic trainer with them like 24/7, all the time at that time. So I finished up my graduate assistant year, and the person that was with men's basketball, he left, and the basketball team was getting ready to go to a European trip. So Coach Catlett had me in for an interview because the football athletic trainer, said I was pretty good, whatever. So I get this interview, and I'm sitting there. And Coach Catlett, he used to be at Cincinnati. My undergrad was at Miami of Ohio. They maybe didn't see face to face, so, he didn't like that very much. But, we talked about it. Then, so you're a graduate assistant with football. And I was like, yes, I was. Men's basketball and football maybe don't always see eye to eye. So, the interview is going really well. I was like, well, I have no chance at this or whatever. And then Lester Rowe walks in the office behind me, and, he puts his hand on me and everything. Hey, Randy, how you doing and everything? And Coach Catlett's like, now, wait, how do you know him? And he says, oh, Randy, he'd take care of us when no one else would or whatever, over at football. Yeah, anytime we needed anything, Randy would take care of us. And then immediately the interview just, totally changed because Coach Catlett loved Lester Rowe, and, who didn't. And so right place, right time. Thank you, Lester. So he probably had a lot to do with getting my career started, because that maybe wasn't the best interview just because of where I've been, nothing else. So that first year I was hired as an interim. And again, I think we did 5 countries, 14 days, and 10 games. And back in that summer. And then, so the first year I was interim, and then I guess Coach Catlett was okay with me, and, he kept me on and everything. So, and
that's awesome. Awesome story.
Yeah.
Randy, I want to ask you, you had a tremendous career, a long career. And a lot of people don't think of that aspect of it, of a program. I was a coach, and of course, as a high school coach, we did all the taping and all that ourselves. We didn't have trainers. Now, toward the end of my coaching time, especially in football, I don't think they do it in basketball yet here, but in football, they're required to have an athletic trainer on staff. So that's one of the changes. But over the course of your career, what types of changes and an approach to athletic training and the way people looked at athletic training, how did that change over the course of your career? Because you had a long career, and I know there were lots of things that changed over time.
Well, schedule-wise, there was a lot that changed. You used to know that basketball would not start until October 15th. So when, Lester was talking about, or I was talking about athletic trainers not being with basketball, it sounds, he'd say mean, but, everything wasn't covered back then. You didn't have as large a staff as you did now. and practice didn't start till October 15th. So, they'd lift, run, with Al Johnson, the strength coach, but then they'd probably just go and play at Stansbury or at Coliseum on their own. And then October 15th, everything started. Now I hate to say it's 24/7, 365, but about 2012 or so, we started practicing in the summer. So we had 8 weeks of practice throughout the summer. That's a big change where every sport's almost going 12 months. That puts a definite change on the amount of workload throughout the year.
Absolutely.
And practice doesn't start October 15th anymore. It starts as soon as school starts. So now you have 8 hours and 20 hours that the NCAA plays with. But, even the 8 hours, they make that when you divide the team up into 3 groups, all of a sudden that 8 hours is a lot longer than 8 hours.
I'm sure you, when they started the summertime, I'm sure you saw a significant pay increase.
Excuse me? No, the internet's working. I'm just being a little bit of a smart aleck there. No.
I was too.
Yeah, I know. I was just playing along. So yeah. The way that NCAA changes things, they may not always think things all the way through, and administration, not just at WVU, but they may not think things all the way through too on how much it does affect all staff members when things like that happen. So
yeah.
So scheduling, there was a lot of changes, but medically there was a lot of changes too. So, I mean, we had, when I first started, we had somewhat of a small staff. Now we have a very large staff where almost every sport has their own athletic trainer 24/7, 365. We have many more team physicians, access to medical care. I mean, show our age, but we can be honest, MRIs didn't even exist back then. And now you can get an MRI in, a day or two and everything like that. So, medically, the changes are very significant, much more advanced than they were back in the 80s.
Well, this, I got another question, and this is going to illustrate how what we were talking about earlier, the press and media, how non-professional media I am. But what's most, which I don't even know if that sentence sounded correct, but thinking back on your time, injury wise, what's and I know this sounds like a crazy question, but stands out in your mind over the course of your time, things that you witnessed and saw and worked with and dealt with? Anything stand out?
I mean, I think just because of how highly
sounds like
you finally get to. Well, it's not my red light, so hopefully it wasn't my issue.
Yeah. Go ahead and start. Start that answer again. You cut out
so, just the significance of the injury and the publicity and where we're at. Deshaun Butler's knee injury in the Final Four would have to stand out as being one of the most significant and heartbreaking injuries that, unfortunately, I was able to witness. So.
Yeah, I think, and that obviously was what was in my mind when I asked that question, because that's one I think any Mountaineer fan remembers very well, and unfortunately, not a good memory. But yeah, I know you saw lots of things over the course of your career, and what was it? We've had a few different coaches on here, and some that work with Coach Catlett, with Lou Pelliccioni and some of those folks. Talk about some of the people you worked, not necessarily under, but worked for, as far as coaching staffs and that sort of thing at WVU, because I know there's going to be a lot of names that come out that bring back a lot of memories for a lot of folks.
Well, yeah. You start with Coach Catlett, and I was with him for many years, and there's assistant coaches that, I've seen Lou around town. Ron Brown, still stay in touch with him. He reaches out every holiday, or if there's a significant change, he wants to get the scoop too. So, And Coach Catlett, I even saw him, last year at a Morgantown High basketball game. So it was great catching up with him there. Then, we moved from Coach Catlett to Coach Beeline, and, Pat just reached out, and I thanked him too and congratulate him on just getting a community college coaching job. So hopefully he does well with that. Just last fall was hard to believe, the 20th anniversary of one of the Coach Beeline's great teams. So that was a heck of a weekend for that reunion. Then are we counting Coach Dockage?
Yeah, we'll just leave him out.
Okay. All right. Just checking. Okay.
Yeah, we don't count him.
Then we moved on. So no, that was before Beeline. I'm sorry. Yeah. Then we had Coach Huggins. So that was interesting, and he did a lot for the program overall. The amount of improvements of the facilities and everything, and obviously going to the Final Four. Then we've had 4 coaches in the last 4 years, and that's made it rather difficult. And then also, the last 2 years we've had total roster changes too. With literally 100% of the points turning over. The only people that came back is, one individual that would redshirt that year. So that's a lot different than the previous years, and that weighed heavily on, retiring. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark, you want to jump back in? I don't want to hog
Yeah.
on.
Who's
You like talk to Randy.
who do you think was the most athletic basketball player that you worked with at West Virginia?
There was several good athletes, but I'd like to think Joe Alexander really stood out as, being explosive, quick. He was, he may not have shown it, but he was pretty darn strong too and everything. But he
could jump.
Very athletic.
He could sure jump. Yeah.
He could jump. Like I said, and working closely with the strength coaches, you get to see what they can do all the time, in the weight room, and then also in the conditioning aspect. Before summer basketball, there used to be, and before you could practice before October 15th, there used to be more emphasis on conditioning and then into basketball. Now it's almost like, basketball 365. So, but they still lift weights and everything. But, someone like Joe, you could really see his athletic ability, in the off season and everything.
Yeah. You were talking about your changes in the schedule over the years and the way things have changed in your role. Back in my day there, you taught classes, and all the trainers taught classes. They have a separate staff to teach the classes now, and so you had a lot more responsibility in the teaching aspect back in the day, didn't you?
Yes, I really enjoyed that. We have over 900 athletic training alums that are placed throughout the country, and we had a 50th reunion last weekend, and well over 200 came back, and we have PTs, PAs, athletic trainers in all different professions. So it was really a great weekend. I really enjoyed teaching and helping young athletic trainers try and get started in their career. And so, I taught in the fall. I really enjoyed it. The coaches were good with letting me have balance. Obviously, I'd teach early in the morning. It would never conflict with practice or anything like that. One semester, one year, they tried having me teach in the spring, and that did not work. Just, spring semester starts in January, and with basketball travel, heck, I wasn't there.
You're gone.
I had substitute teachers more than I was teaching, so that didn't go. And that was enough on that.
Yeah.
So, but
I think back then too, we really, I think the staff and the students, it's kind of one big family, and I really enjoyed that time. It was a good experience there, and just the way the program was set up back in the day, I'm not sure everybody was like that everywhere in the country. I think West Virginia has a great reputation for their athletic training program. It's one of the top ones in the country, and I think that was part of it. Everybody was close knit, and you you'd have fun together. You'd work hard together, and if you needed your butt chewed, which I had a few of those, you got that too. So it was a good experience.
No, I
Well
agree
prepared for
totally.
my career.
Yes, I agree with you totally, and that's one of the big reasons I stayed around for so long. I try to teach the students that I was working most closely with and everything that, you're really on two teams. So it's like I'm with the men's basketball team, but I'm also part of the sports medicine team or the athletic training team. And, if we had to choose some butt, we'd choose some butt. But also, I think we were there to support and help each other out too,
Right.
And that team atmosphere as athletic trainers, sports medicine professionals, and then also being part of WU's athletic department, me specifically with men's basketball, it was just a very, very rewarding experience.
Sure.
Yeah. I know, Randy, you haven't had a lot of time to really enjoy it just yet, but what are your plans retirement wise, and what's the future look like for you?
Well, hopefully long, but I'd like to. I like getting outdoors, so a lot of biking and hiking. My wife and I will like to travel more in the future. I've enjoyed thoroughly the travel with men's basketball. It's unbelievable. Coming from a small town in Ohio and all the places I've been, I'd like to knock down 4 more states, and I'll have all 50 states. Unfortunately, with the schedule that I described, I probably didn't do as much around the house as I should have, and I need to work on some projects around the house, get that caught up. But relax a little bit. Hate to say do what I want to do, but work out and do the things around the state that I'd like to do with my wife, and then do some more traveling also.
Awesome. I think you'll figure out when you start doing those honeydews, you're going to wonder how you ever had time to work when you start doing all those chores that you messed out on, because they seem to never end, and they pile up on you. So I guess I accumulated them over 35 years, and that's why I got such a large stack.
Well, I give her credit. She actually has not made a list for me at all. Well, I guess maybe one thing for Friday, but she has not made a list for me at all. But I know what needs to be done, and like I said,
she has that list in her head. I'll tell you that right now. She has that list right here.
Oh, okay.
Whenever she sees you getting too comfortable or too chill, she's like, "Okay, Randy, this painting needs done."
I thought
35 years now. It's just done.
I thought of one more thing, Randy. This was near, especially to me and Brett Wood, Mark Wayne, a couple others. You were a country music fan, just like we were. So in the training room, you'd play country music a lot. We didn't get that quite a bit. We didn't get it at the stadium ever. So I mean, I remember that about the training room there too. And we were limited on what we had in Morgantown. It was just WAJR AM, but you still put it on there, and I like that too.
Yeah, so I told you earlier before we started, I stopped in the practice facility today and met with the new individual and everything. And as I was walking out, we had lunch together. He had a few questions, so we went over a few things. Everything was good. And but as I was walking out, I'd noticed it earlier, but I said, well, I really appreciate it, and I like your taste of music too. I don't know what, I hate to say country station because it probably didn't have anything. I'm a Pandora person personally, so but he figured out the stereo and had country music on, so I like that. So some things hadn't totally changed.
Yeah. Well, that's important. So
well, Mark, now we'll challenge you. You remember you and Mark Wayne, I think you got us tickets to what was that guy at Nashville, Big Red or something like that? Years ago when we were down in Nashville, you helped get us to a show that we were able to watch.
Yeah, that was through Mark's sister. I can't remember what the show was now, but yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, she used to work at CMT and had access. I got tickets for her for everything. I've seen everybody at concert, so yeah, it's I remember that. I sure do.
Yeah,
and yeah, you've been to Nashville a few times. We've had lunch together, and you toured the facilities when I was over at Vanderbilt and everything. I remember those times.
Yeah, I'd like to get back there. So
Yeah, I'd like to get you back down here too. You wouldn't recognize it downtown compared to what it was last time you were here. It's exploded. So.
Yep, Frank. Frank, you want to jump in? I know we kind of put you in the back room there. You'd like to jump in? I'm sure you've got some pressing questions you'd like to ask Randy as well.
Well, you stimulated it, Randy, by talking about all the travel you did. And, for the current fans, we think of the Big 12, but that's relatively recent. There was a whole bunch of years when you started back in the 80s that the Mountaineers were in various iterations of what eventually became the A10. So I have a question for you that's really deep. It's a cerebral question. I'm from Western New York. So the question is, how are those frog legs at the Castle Restaurant in Olean, New York, right across from St. Bonaventure? You ate there, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. When you got the schedule and you looked at it, is like, if you could be in Olean, I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but when they had the buffet, what was the name of that hotel across from St. Bonnie?
The Castle.
The Castle. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. The Castle. Now, don't get any great pictures in your mind, because I understand. I think that's torn down, but I mean, there was no hallways. It was a true hotel or whatever, but their restaurant now was very good. The rooms, So, but that buffet they had, yeah, when you had frog legs on there, you got excited. But now the Atlantic 10 days, a lot of times you had St. Bonnie and Penn State on the same trip, So, but yeah, we've been to some interesting places. Ice Station Zebra and all over the place. Yeah, because there was some road trips at St. Bonnie where we had a hard time getting there or getting out of there and everything. But
and those facilities, that was the one thing about WVU that separated it from the rest, was the Coliseum. And then you'd go to Temple at that old facility, and the roof would leak, right? And then you'd go to St. Joe's, because St. Joe's was in that league. And my understanding was you guys had to change in a classroom, and that facility, what was it? They shared it with the Philadelphia 76ers. Did their practice. Yeah. That was their practice place. Oh my God. Yeah. You can write a book, Randy, with all those stories about the experiences you had as an athletic trainer, because you get to go to all these places that most people, even if they go to the games, they don't know the whole, the 180 around it.
Oh, yeah.
360. Yeah, great.
Yeah, and then travel back then. I mean, we were doing commercial and buses. Well, of course, you had to have buses, but you're on commercial airlines, so you're at the mercy of them for cancellations, delays, and everything else. Or if the coach wants to change plans, you're trying to change all that. And that was we had a limited number of charter flights, but with Coach Huggins, he really did a great job of getting us all charters. So, that really helped, but don't think charters don't have their issues too sometimes, or of course with the weather in the winter. But we've had bus breakdowns, flight problems, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. It's not all smooth.
Very good. That was my question, Greg, was about frog legs.
No, that's probably the only place I've had them. I mean, I've heard of them other places, or people doing it themselves, but that's probably the only place I've had frog legs in my life. Well, I thought they were good.
Once again, Frank, we illustrating our lack of media expertise and the questions we ask. I was going to ask Randy too, like memorable trips. I mean, I know you've been everywhere. You said that you've been all over the world, actually. But any trips that stand out memory wise, whether it was a breakdown or a unexpected stay or anything like that?
Well, I mean, you have the great trips in the sense of going to Hawaii, going to Italy twice, going to Spain, going to Europe, Australia, New Zealand. Been to Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea. Those, they all stand out. But then you have the trips too, where you're winning games and you remember them because, at the end of the year, NCAA tournament, Big East tournament, Madison Square Gardens. We were in the championship game at the Big 12 in Kansas City multiple years. So, you can associate the big games with certain locations, and then, just the great trips. And, many of the trips my wife and some of the trips my kids were able to go on too. So, those stand out that they were able to, go different places. It's been a heck of a career, and never would have thought about that, 40 years ago, all the places I've been.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about it. And that's got to be, when you talk about careers and, not only doing the important work that you were doing, but you throw in the, the added pleasures of it, the trips and the people you get to be around and that sort of thing. So that's a really cool thing. Mark, you have anything else you'd like to, before we say goodbye to Randy, anything you'd like to follow up with?
Yeah. What was the toughest arena that you remember environment-wise to play in? I know you've had a bunch in different conferences, but does any arena stand out, that you've been to that was the harder place to play?
Well, that's a good question. That's a tough question. There's many rivalries. I mean, you think of Pitt, of course. And
right.
There's a couple stories at Pitt that really make me laugh. And one of the funniest ones was Pitt's novel. He was in the locker room joking around with me and stuff. And he goes, "You watch, I'm going to go out here and shoot about 3 air balls. And then I'll stroking it, So he goes out there and warm up, and we're right at when you're at Pitt, the zoo, all the students are right there. So he goes out there. I'm watching him from the other end. And Kevin, I mean, he is a character. He might still be, but I assume he's a little bit more mature now or whatever, but he's doing well. But he goes out there and he airballs it. And I mean, they are all over him. And then he just knocks it down. And of course, we win that game. So that was good. But he just liked toying with people. Then, of course, most recently, we never won at Kansas until this past year. So that was that, that really stands out. And, I have some of the arenas are so modern, like Texas's new arena. That was really something to see. Very, very nice arena. But then you have the history arenas like Kansas, or, we joked about the Temple and the rain, but the water always dripping in. But I'll remember when Bill Cosby maybe was a little bit more respected. He stopped in our locker room multiple times with on wins or losses. It's because they were classic games against John Chaney.
Wow.
But, Atlantic 10, we played at the Palestra. And, what history there was at the Palestra and everything too. Atlantic 10, we were able to open a few arenas. The Big East was nice, and I really enjoyed the Big East, but there was a lot of professional arenas that we played at. So you was almost, secondhand, could you practice the day before or not? Well, maybe there was a hockey game, so
I got you.
The Coliseum is so nice. And I was worried about the Coliseum fitting in the Big 12. And after we traveled and everything, I was like, our Coliseum is as nice as anything. And
yeah, they kept that building up well since it was. I remember when it was built. We were living in Morgantown when I was a kid, and there's been a lot. Huggins did a lot of improvements there, had a lot of things done, and it's even nicer now. But they've maintained that well over the years.
Yes, they have. And it's from 1970. Yeah. Not that we're trying to age you or me or anything, but yeah,
it was 1970. Yeah,
and
sure was.
You look at Baylor, where they won the national championship from. I mean, that arena. Their new arena now is very, very nice, but their Baylor's old arena, nothing at all.
So. What you've been to Arkansas too, haven't you?
Yeah, unfortunately, because we got our butt kicked there. But yes,
that's a nice arena too, if I remember right.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a very nice arena, very large, very loud, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
lost. So, but there's some nice, the newer arenas that are going up, the suites and everything they have. Like I said, Texas, Baylor, Texas Tech's. I've been impressed with their arena. It's very nice. I think it was
Yeah.
actually time with their suites. That's the one thing we're missing at the Coliseum. That's very unfortunate is the suites. But again,
Is
the
the
improvements
suites,
they
yeah.
made with the locker rooms and some of the clubs and everything, they still making improvements. But yeah, we just lack the suites.
Now, where your training room was in the Coliseum, is that still the training room that you use there in the Coliseum? No.
It's really shrunk. So it's new. With the new club that was built on the floor level, the Coliseum Athletic Training Room shrunk tremendously. So it's good enough for game day prep. We have a small portable floor scan, which is like an X-ray in there. So we still have a doctor's office. I mean, it's still functional. Got 3 treatment tables, 1 taping table, whirlpools. So, but it's much, much smaller than it used to be.
Is a weight room still used in there? Or?
No, there's no weight room in the Coliseum anymore.
It's gone now, totally. Okay.
Yes, we have a beautiful, beautiful weight room next door in the old swimming
pool.
I
know. Yeah.
It's called the Athletic Performance Center. So that's for all the Olympic sports. Then we have a very nice weight room in our basketball practice facility for men's and women's basketball.
Okay. Yeah.
Randy, I tell you what, it's been a lot of fun talking to you. Congratulations again on a great career and on your retirement. And we enjoyed the stories and the inside look at what it's like to be a trainer at WVU. It's been awesome, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it too.
All right, Frank. Anything before we let him go?
Well, I was able to do some research, Randy, and we should have a moment of silence for the Castle Restaurant. They closed in 1997.
Okay. I'd heard they were torn down. I thought they were. Yeah.
But they have 20 pounds of frog legs that are in the deep freeze. If you and I can take a road trip if you want.
Well, I think I'd rather go to Nashville than Olean, New York. But up that way, I could go to Niagara Falls, but Olean, I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, before you
barbecue down here.
Yeah.
They were nice people, though. They were nice people, but
yeah. We're gonna have John Antoniuk on next week, and we'll ask you this question. We'll ask him this question, the same question next week. Do you have any John Antoniuk stories you want to share that can be shared?
I really enjoy his books. He does a great job writing. He's threatening of not writing anymore. I would encourage him to continue writing. And I can read, but I like the quality of his pictures too. He has, enough pictures to make it interesting and plenty to read. But I also wonder, I don't know if anyone's friends with him on Facebook or anything, but he spends a lot of Friday and Saturday night acting like he's a DJ. And I don't know who's listening to his music, because just because you play music in your basement and show a picture of the record, that doesn't mean we can hear it. And he takes requests.
That's right.
And I might be one dumb enough that gives him requests and evaluate his DJ.
He very seldom plays country though now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Randy too. Since you mentioned him writing books, that was a question I wanted to ask you. Have you had any thoughts at all about possibly writing a book about? It's
a thought. We're old enough to know that computers didn't exist when we first started, or at least they weren't available to us. If I would have started something when computers first started, it would have been easy. Now it'd be difficult. I think it would be difficult to go back, but I think there would be some good humor. Yes, I've really enjoyed my career, and of course, we work, like Mark said, but we work together. We're all trying to do the best we can for Mountaineer basketball that I was most closely associated with. But, there was a lot of fun associated with. There are some characters too. Jack Fleming, Jay Jacobs. There were some characters that we traveled with and everything. And 2 people, unfortunately, have passed that were big characters too. Was our radio engineer named Spanky, and Jim Bogaluski, who was a photographer for a long time. Those were some characters and everything. But yeah, there would be some stories that would only want to be published after you were retired and everything. So.
I think that's an idea you need to consider.
That's right.
I think a lot of people would be interested in reading that book. I'll tell you that right now.
The inside story.
That's right.
Right.
Randy, we appreciate you again for joining us. A lot of fun, and hopefully we can do it again someday. And again, congratulations and enjoy the retirement.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I should have more free time. So
there you go.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you.
You.
All right, Randy Meador. That's good stuff right there. I'll tell you, Frank.
Yeah, these guys. Oh, Darren, can we bring in Mark too? Is that possible to get the three of us up there, or is that going to be a problem with the graphics? Okay, that's very good. Yeah. Okay, let's. You're going to be audio only. Yeah, I didn't think it would be possible. I love this new format you have there, but where would we squeeze them in for the three? But Mark, I can see why you think so highly of Randy and have enjoyed working with him, and vice versa. You can tell he's just a super professional, but also has a lot of fun. I mean, and that's what makes working for a living so much so satisfying, because you work with a lot of really dedicated people, but you also have a lot of good relationships and fun while you're doing it.
Absolutely. I'm still in touch with the guys I went to school with, even some of the classes ahead of me, behind me, people I've met, networking over the years. Some of the old staff that's no longer there, still everybody's kind of close knit, and still keep in touch with everybody. It was, like I said, it was a great program, great experience. Worked hard, learned a lot, had a blast.
Yeah, that's great. I see that Randy's still in the back room, and so he can hear us. And he brought up Al Johnson. And Randy, we've had Al Johnson on the show, my God, probably 4 times. And he was with us on our remote up at Cheat Lake for the Brian Joswiak golf tournament. But I don't know if you're talking about stories. The next time you see Al, ask him about the time that he was actually thrown out of a Major League Baseball game because the manager didn't want to. He told that story on the show. He didn't want to lose his, his starting pitcher for the next day, so he was able to talk the ump into throwing the strength and conditioning coach out of the game. Al was just sitting in the dugout watching the game, and he got thrown out. And the best part of that story, right, Craig, is Major League Baseball fined him. He got $1,000 fine for being thrown out of the game. So ask Al about that. But boy, yeah, fun interview. We really appreciate Randy taking the time to join us, Craig.
Yeah, another funny part of that story, the manager, I think Frank Robinson, jokingly, tongue-in-cheek, told him that if he ever got thrown out of another game again, causing us trouble, he was going to fire his ass. Yeah, that's a heck of a story there.
Yeah, you and I were talking about Frank Robinson the other day on a telephone call, and those were the days. I'll tell you. Yeah. I don't think the Reds, the Big Red Machine, got a lot of credit, but there were good Reds teams way before then too.
Oh yeah,
Frank Robinson, Veda Pinson, all those guys, and talk about guys that weren't professionals behind the mic like us. Well, Joe Nuxall was the best of the best. Wow, he was just tremendous. Hey, there's a question I want to ask. I want to ask you, Greg, and also Mark. He can come in oral. And Darren, if you could throw up that college football playoff, we'll close off here talking a bit of football, that graphic on the college football. What I want to ask you guys is, what's your preference? I mean, the 3 conferences, the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC. Well, to back up, I think most people know that they're going through a process now to see how they're going to expand. They want to expand the college playoff football from 12 to 16 teams. And this is one of those things where the conferences are starting to coalesce. At least there's 3 against 1. But what the SEC, Big 12, and ACC prefer is basically putting the selection for a lot of the teams in the hands of a committee, which may be a bit surprising. They've got the 5+1 model, where there be the champ in each of the Power Four conferences for four, and then the best group of five team. That's what they prefer. And then the Big Ten prefers, I mean, you almost have to have a calculator, a 4-4-2-2-1-3 model. And so, but what's interesting about that, what they want is four teams automatically in from the Big Ten, four teams automatically in from the SEC, and then the Big 12 and the ACC get two each. So it's like Big Brother and Little Brother, and then one for a group of the best of the group of five. And then the committee really doesn't have much to do. They pick three. I shouldn't say they don't have much to do, but they've only got to pick three in this. And both of those models you see add up to 16. Do you have a preference? Do you think one is better than the other, or one is worse than the other, and then why?
Well, I think I think I don't know if one's better. I think the first model is preferable. To be fair, you look at like the Big Ten's proposal, and you and I have mentioned this and talked about this. Not every year, and most years it's the case in the Big Ten and the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12. You have, one or two, three teams that are really good. And I think in the Big 12, you have a lot of parity. And I'm not saying, that they're all great teams, but there's a lot of parity throughout the conference from the top to the bottom. In the Big Ten, you got a couple teams, every year that are really good, and then you got, a lot of teams that are average, and then some teams that are bad. And I think same way in the SEC. And I think if you start guaranteeing, that many spots to a conference, you may end up with a 7-5 team in there or something to that effect. And I think you never know when a team like an Indiana or somebody like that's going to have a great season. And if you go to the model where you only allow 3 at large, Indiana can have that great season, but they may still be, fifth. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying they couldn't get selected; they could, but I just think that you guaranteeing that many teams could backfire, and you could end up with some duds in there. And I don't think the other conferences. I would think would have to look at that and say, wait a minute, you're going to give your conference gets 4, ours gets 2. Makes no sense. I mean, you never know. You may have 4 of the best teams in the country in the Big 12 or the ACC. You don't know that. And then what happens? And again, if you got 4 teams that are, there and you have to pick 3 out of those 4, that's unfair. Somebody's getting left out that shouldn't be left out. So I just think that, you win your conference, you get in, and then let the chips fall where they may after that. I think is the only fair way to do it. And that may mean 8 SEC teams in it, if that's the case. If that's the 8 best teams, so be it. But don't what do they say? Put the cart before the horse, and go ahead and pick those slots out before you ever know what kind of teams these folks are going to have. It's just like the preseason polls and all that. With like you take a WVU for example, that is ranked with say 10th preseason poll. If they lose a game, they drop all the way out or down to 20th. If Alabama is ranked number 1, they lose a game, they drop to 4. If they lose another one, they drop to 7. If WVU loses a game, they're out, and that's not fair, and that's what happens with these preseason polls and the way they do those things. But again, until you watch the season play out, I don't know how you start guaranteeing people places in the playoff without seeing what they do during the season. So, and that's just my opinion, Mark.
To earn it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think, I live in the heart of SEC country, and I don't always agree with their commissioner Sankey, but I do agree in this case with that model. I think if you go with the other model that the Big Ten's proposing, that's the ACC and Big 12 are going to be they're discriminated against basically, And I agree with Greg. I think a lot of things should play out. Let the season play out, and let all the chips fall, and then pick out what's going on. I mean, you're going to have your conference champions, but I think the SEC, the first model is going to give the ACC and the Big 12 a better chance of getting equal representation in the playoffs. If not, I think we're going to get left out. I mean, I'm afraid we're going to have some good teams. That what if we have 3 teams that go 11-1? Somebody's going to get left out, and that's not. I don't think that's fair. And my personal opinion is, I think the Big 12 is probably the 3rd best conference. I think it's a stronger conference, top to bottom, versus the ACC. So but I hate to. I don't want to wish anything bad on anybody. I know the ACC, there people are saying it's going to implode and all that. We're going to absorb teams. That may happen. It may not. As long as time is a variable, there, anything can happen. But I do think the first model would give, selfishly, would give the Big 12 a chance to be better represented.
A lot of people, Frank, who would argue that on the other side would say, well, if you're the Big 12, you want to accept that model because that guarantees you 2 teams, and you may not get 2 teams otherwise. But to me, that's still not fair. I mean, if you're guaranteed 2 teams, maybe you don't have 2 teams that are good enough to be in it. If you look at it from the flip side. So yeah, this guaranteeing all these spots, I just don't. I don't think that's a good model, and I think fans would agree with me for the most. I don't know, they may not, but I think most fans would agree that it needs to be fair for all the conferences. It needs to be equal.
I agree.
I agree with you guys, and I think as I heard Greg talking, the thing that strikes me is that it that first model, Darren, if you could throw it up again, you have to earn it. You have to earn it. So rather than giving you 4 guaranteed, because I'm not sure the Big Ten is going to have each year 4 teams that would get it if a committee was selecting, or if you go by the ESPN Power Index. I don't think you're going to do it. And by the same token, I think that as Mark said, the Big 12 could well have more than 2, and you get locked in with the Big Ten model because there are only 3 at large. So I think things are shaping up. I will say this, though, and it goes back to something you said, Mark, and that is that you got this Petiti with the Big Ten and Sankey for the SEC. It's almost like they're in a tug of war to see who's going to be the fairest and the most important, the more important commissioner, and that doesn't do the game. So my feeling about it is, if you ask the question, what's the best option for the game? I don't think it's any question. It's the SEC, ACC, Big 12 preference.
Yeah. Unfortunately, ESPN and Fox have a lot to say too, and they can be biased to those conferences. And I know they're going to support what they think are the best matchups, but that they're going to get the most viewers. But again, if somebody's 11-1 and gets left out, that's not equal. You just look back a few years ago. Auburn went undefeated and didn't even get in the play or get into the championship game.
Sure.
And that's. I think you got to kind of, like Greg said, just wait till the end of the season, let it all play out, and put the most teams that are the most deserving in those spots, and not just.
And hopefully the guy from North Carolina is not on the commission.
Yeah,
Get that thrown in there real quick. All right.
yeah,
Well, we
yeah.
running a little bit over time here, Frank. So I think we need to go ahead and wrap it up for the night. Mark, we appreciate you tuning in with us and enjoyed your input and great job with Randy talking to him. A lot of memories for you guys, I'm sure. We appreciate you, Mark. And absolutely. Next week, we've got John Antonico on with us. We've had him on a time or two, and everybody knows how much information and expertise he has on all things related to W. He's got a new book to talk about as well. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun next week. And we appreciate, again, everybody for tuning in. And Frank, I know we look forward to bringing another show. We're getting closer and closer to August. When August gets here, it's all downhill from there and we can't wait for that. So we appreciate you and all the work you put into this as well. Thanks to Randy Meador for joining us tonight. Darren, appreciate all your hard work putting all this together, and we look forward to coming to you again next week on the New River Network and the Voice of College Football with the Mountaineer Locker Room then and now. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you next week. Good night, everybody.